How's it going, YouTube? It's your boy Topsonics coming at you with a deck profile today. Now, I know it's been a while since I've brought you guys a deck profile, and today I'm bringing you a Master Duel deck profile, which is a little different than what I usually do. But I've been really kind of playing Master Duel more than I have the normal card game as of late. And with getting the Master yesterday and everything, I wanted to talk about the deck that I used to do it. So basically, in under a day, I got to Master using this deck, and just wanted to talk about it. Without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. So the first card in the list is going to be Purrely. Obviously, this is a Purrely deck profile, so we're going to have Purrely. We're going to have two, and then we're going to have two Purrely. So these are your absolute, the monster you need. I love these two. I love these two. They are absolutely like some of my favorite cards in the game. I never really played the deck too often until recently, but absolutely love how the deck plays, and I absolutely do love the deck. And between card design and how they work as cards themselves, I think Purrely is really cool. One of the best things about the meta right now is that Purrely is just kind of not seen as often, so a lot of people aren't playing the out specifically to Purrely, specifically Noir, which we'll talk about in a minute. But ultimately, so Purrely lets you use a memory from the hand to summon one of the other ones, to one of the extra deck ones. Purrely lets you use the graveyard to grab a memory and summon one of the Exceed monsters. The main reason why we're not playing the Sprite version of it, though, is because just mostly in Master Duel, you still have access to anglers, but not having access to like multiple beavers and stuff just isn't that good. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think pure Purrely is better. Now you only have the four main monsters, though. For the rest of the monsters, you have hand traps. So first we have the 3 Maxi, we have the 3 Ash Blossom, and then we have the 1 Nibiru. So I only play the 1 Nibiru mostly because I just don't really I don't think you really need 3 Nibiru in the deck. The deck is already pretty tight. I wanted to have another hand trap in as maybe like a 40th or 41st card. And at the end of the day, this is what I really wanted to solidify my hand trap lineup. So I think 1 Nibiru has been pretty good. You see it pretty often because you draw so many cards anyway that you don't really need to have like maxed out of every single hand trap you play. To be fair, most of this deck is board breakers, as you can see by the count. We only have so many monsters compared to the trove of spell cards that we have in here. So yeah, and of course, because we can play Maxi, we play Maxi, right? Ash is mostly there to hit some branded stuff, but it's mostly just to hit certain cards that might let your opponent get to outs to your Noir. At the end of the day, this deck, one of the best parts about Purrely that I like, especially Master Duel, is that it doesn't really care about Maxi. Like, sometimes you can play in the Maxi and it hurts, but realistically, unless you play really poorly, you never play in the Nib. So the biggest thing that they can do with their Maxi is draw Ash Blossom, which a lot of people just tend to shotgun anyway, even at like the higher levels. So for the spell cards, immediately we have the Harpy's Feather Duster, we have the triple Dark Ruler No More, and we have the Lightning Storm, as well as a triple Tactics Talents. So these are our board breakers for the most part. So Duster and Lightning Storm let you basically just hit the back row when you have Storm specifically when you have no face-up cards. So the idea is mostly if you're going second and you're playing against stuff like Didomorphia, stuff like Runic, and stuff like Labyrinth that tend to set a bunch of back row, this really helps you get through that kind of stuff. This also helps you against stuff like Zodiac and the different types of slow decks that like to set a bunch of cards. Lightning Storm and Duster are also really good against Fire King. It just lets you have multiple ways to out their board with their back row. Being able to go Lightning Storm on an empty board blows up their field spell, blows up their board. Like, yeah, they still get bodies after that, but realistically they have like a single monster negate and maybe Princess. So, but then you have target protection anyway. We'll talk about it in a second here. And Dark Ruler No More, I've been playing over what I was testing previously was Book of Eclipse, and I liked Book of Eclipse, but at the end of the day, Dark Ruler No More has definitely kind of solidified itself as the better card for me. Mostly because I'm able to hit more. I'm able to hit more things with ruler, like link monsters specifically, and just things like that. That like Appaloosa is still available in Master Duel, and so is Barone. So needing this over, I think this over Book of Eclipse is definitely like the better call. And then we have the talents. We have the single tactics talents, but we also have the single tactics thrust. I again, you draw so many cards in this deck. Like you can actually have turns where you draw 6 cards without maxi. Usually it's about 4 cards you draw, but even so, like on average you draw about 4 cards. So being able to have these for follow up or in response to effects is really nice. You might want to add more thrust over talents because of that then. But realistically, like the biggest thing you do, like if you're going first and you thrust, like the more often than not, you either go for this to draw cards or hand rip sometimes, or you set this, which we'll talk about in a second. Now for the Purrely spell card, and then we also have 2 Call by the Grave. I'm not playing Crossout Designator. That's mainly because I'm not really trying to fit another 2 cards into the deck. Also, the deck doesn't really need Call by the Crossout that much. Like realistically, you're gonna cross out Ash Blossom most of the time, and that's about it. You never really need to cross out Maxi, and if you're having to cross out Nibiru or Bestial, well, one, you don't play the Bestial, so you can't cross out it. But also, like if you need to cross out Nibiru, it just your turn isn't going the way that it should be then anyway. So then for the Purrely spells, we have 3 of the field spell, Stray Purrely Street. Stray Purrely Street protects your special summon Purrelys from being targeted, which is how you basically play around Promethean Princess in a lot of ways. It's also how you play around Imperm and Effect Veiler, which is like the 2 biggest things that hurt your deck. So at the end of the day, like Stray Purrely Street basically means that the majority of hand traps just do not affect this deck. And then you have ways to counteract some of the other ones, depending on your hand. And then you have My Friend Purrely, which is the continuous spell, which lets you pick any 3 Purrely cards from the deck and show them to your opponent. Your opponent randomly picks 1, puts it in your hand. I absolutely love it. And then also both of these have effects for when your opponent makes your Purrelys your Purrely Exceed monsters leave the field. So you basically get to revive, and then you revive with this one, or you can summon from deck one of the 2 smaller Purrelys, or you can use My Friend Purrely as well to put back memories into your hand. So you can put 1 of each name back into your hand. It's pretty good. My Friend Purrely like comes in clutch almost every single game. So Purrely Happy Memory, one of the best memories because it lets you summon Purrely Happiness, which is just crazy to me. Happiness was such a mistake into this game, but I absolutely love it. So Happy Memory lets you protect the card, or protect one of your cards from being destroyed, or any card on the field from being destroyed. But you need to have a card on the field to protect in order to activate this card. And then every Purrely memory card lets you discard to summon a Purrely monster from deck. So Purrely Happy Memory protects a card from destruction. Pretty Memory lets you gain life points, or makes both players gain life points. This is actually how I beat a Dynamorphia player for my final game to get to Masters the other day. Absolutely silly. Delicious Memory protects a monster from being destroyed by battle this turn. And then Purrely Sleepy Memory, once per activation, protects your life points. So they don't stack, but the next time you take damage, it would be 0. You can then activate it again in order to take another 0 damage. But the memories also have secondary effects. So Happy Memory lets the Purrely Exceed monster is attached to attack as many times as the number of memories as the number of happy memories plus 1. Pretty Memory lets you send another card on the field to the graveyard at its cost to target a card and suck it up as Exceed material. Delicious Memory gives the card a 200 attack for every memory attached to it. Or for every material attached to it, sorry, not just the memories. And then Sleepy Memory is the one that lets you draw during your opponent's standby phase, which is the one that lets you, draw so many cards, which is why it's a UR. And then for the trap cards, we have Purrely Eep, which is, to me, I think it's a standard 2 of. Absolutely think you should play 2 of this card. You target one of your Purrely Exceed monsters, typically whichever one that you put on the field with 4 material. And then if you can only get the 4 material, usually get to more anyway. But what this does is it lets you make any of your rank 2 Purrelys rank up into the rank 7 Purrely, and if the rank 7 Purrely has 5 or more, it makes it unaffected by card effects. It'll still be put back into the extra deck by this effect, but you know you still have a whole turn with it, and then you also get the bounces that Noir gives you. So like this is your main way to put like multiple interrupts onto the board, draw a bunch of cards, which also lets you usually get to your hand traps, which means more interrupts. Also, at the end of the day, this card can be banished from the graveyard to target up to 3 Purrely monsters, and put them back into shuffle them back into the deck. This includes the Exceed monsters and the babies. So having only 4 babies isn't as detrimental if you blow through them, because you can always shuffle them back into the deck, which is again why I think 2 of this trap is absolutely necessary, because it means that these 4 become basically 10 different copies or become 8 different copies of Noir, or of whichever one, right? So you basically have basically 6 copies of each one, essentially at the end of the day. And then you have the 2 red reboots, which is absolutely essential to me against trap decks. I can't tell you how many times I played against Labyrinth, drawn this card, and blown them out completely. Red reboot absolutely just should not exist in this game, but if for some reason it's at 2 here. It's getting kind of long, so hopping into the extra deck, we have the 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite. We only play this card because it's a rank 1, and we can overlay the 2 Sprite monsters into it. But if we want to really extend, or we absolutely need that extra memory card, the extra memory, we can activate the effect, mill the top card of our deck, and if it's a spell card, we can put it into our hand. So this is usually like the last ditch effort to draw a memory or something like that. But then again, at the end of the day, we don't always use this. Kiki Nagashi Fucho, or just the unaffected bird, is usually what I call it. This card has been crazy. I don't think it's like one of the greatest cards in the game, but as like a level 1 card, this card can be, or a rank 1 card, this card can be absolutely crazy. This card was insane during the Drytron formats for being able just to letting Drytron make Zeus before anything, and then just wipe the board and then full combo. This is quite literally the same idea. If you can get to like 2 Purrelys and stuff, like this is just a backup plan for the most part. If you are ever sitting on 2 Purrelys and you think your opponent is going to kill you on the next turn, or you just need to survive one last turn, so like you can be sitting on two Purrely monsters and only a max C, and you can summon Fucho onto the board, not take any damage unless they have a kaiju or something, because again it's unaffected, and then you can force it to be unable to be destroyed by battle or card effects. Basically, and you take no battle damage, which is also crazy. So like they can't even pierce through it to kill you, which is all types of crazy to me. Like the only thing that would really like hurt this is like a kaiju, which is to me as well. So like that way you can max C, draw a bunch of cards with like combo, they can't get through Fujo, and then you just use your board breakers to beat them basically. We play 2 happiness. You don't necessarily need to play 2 happiness, but I've had it come up once or twice. It's not often that it comes up, but it does every once in a while. Happiness is the only one that has a decently high attack point stat, but also happiness has the effect that every time it battles at the end of the damage step, it lets you add a Purrely card from your deck to your hand, and then half the attack of a monster on the board, which is basically crazy. Which is how you OTK with Delicious Memory. I don't often do that OTK because getting to the 1 Delicious Memory is rather random with the My Friend Purrely, but you can add it with this. So like if your opponent has like a certain amount of monsters or like low attack stats, you can kind of get through it with this, because Happy Memory again lets you attack multiple times. So you already make it with Happy Memory, which means it's guaranteed 2 attacks off the bat. and then you search this with the first one, and then you search this with the second one, search this with the third attack, and then you get the fourth attack. For the next card, we have Purrely Beauty. Beauty is a target negate. It's a quick effect while it has pretty memory attached to it. So naturally Beauty is the one that you use to suck up most cards anyway as well. And then you have Plump. Again, this is another one that you don't really need two of, mostly because you only have the single Delicious to play. But Plump lets you suck up any 2 spells or traps in the graveyard. He's the one that is absolutely easy, like the easiest way to get to Noir, to Purrely Noir in order to get like the unaffected version of it, like on turn 1. If you're able to get to him, it is GG's for your opponent usually. Purrely Noir. This is the smaller version of Noir, which is weird considering how the stat difference between a rank 2 and a rank 7. But at the end of the day, this card lets you discard, target up to 2 cards, and bounce them. You get to pick 2 if you have Sleepy Memory attached to it, which is usually how you summon it in the first place. And then Sleepy Memory is the one that also lets you draw cards. So typically you end up like your worst case scenario usually is you summon this off of Sleepy, and then you summon Noir and hopefully activate another memory. Or open Purrely Eep or open Thrust to set Eep. So like you have a lot of different ways to get to like the worst case scenario. Anyway, like it's just like your worst case scenario is pretty easy to overcome to begin with, but yeah. But then essentially you can get this into most other stuff. So each one of these has an extra effect when a card is attached to it. So up to 3 times per turn, you can attach a Purrely Memory that you've activated to the in chain to these. So Happiness, for example, will attach the spell card, and then it will attempt to bounce a back row. Beauty will attempt to change the battle position of one face of monster your opponent controls. Plump can banish a monster on the field. And then Noir can set any Purrely trap card from the deck. So you can set Eep from the deck by doing that, which allows you to get into Noir pretty easily. It's absolutely like Noir is only a 1 of in most builds, and honestly I've never needed more, but it's weird that it's only a 1 of considering how good it is. We play the 1 Downer Magician because, you know, all these rank 1s and rank 2s we can just freely overlay on top of it, and then we can make a Zeus with an extra material. And then we play the 2 Purrely Noir. This is like the best one in the game. Obviously, like if you have 5, this can be freely exceed summoned on top of any rank 2 monster with 5 or 2 materials on it. It doesn't have to be a Purrely card. It can be any rank 2. But we're not playing a Sprite deck that has a high amount of rank 2s. Also, I don't know how you're supposed to get a Ninja Mosquito with 5 materials, but you know you could essentially probably do it. This card is unaffected by opponent's activated card effects if it has 5 or more materials. So what that also entails at the end of the day is that certain cards like Scareclaw Cashiera, Snatch Steal, and a couple of other cards, because their activated effects are not the effects to take or to negate, they get through Noir's stuff. It's also the same thing with like Kaijus, because the tribute for Kaijus is a game mechanic, so it gets over Noir, that kind of stuff. There's ways that you can get over Noir, but at the end of the day, like most people aren't playing those. And then it has it has an effect where you can detach 2 materials, target any 1 card on your opponent's field or in their graveyard, and it places it on the bottom of their deck. This is a quick effect if you have a level 1 Purrely monster attached to it. So as long as you keep one of the babies attached to it, this is a quick effect. So basically, as long as you have 5 or more materials, you're good. So basically, 7 materials, you get 1 free bounce before you start becoming affected by stuff. And so like at the end of the day, this is pretty good. This also lets you eventually get into like a huge Zeus if you summon it off Eep, or lets you do a whole bunch of different plays. We play. I play only one Zeus. Most decks play two. I think two Zeus is a little much, but I have been missing the second Zeus. I think I think I'll be testing one plump in the future. Um, I cut a plump for a second Zeus. That would probably be an interesting thing to do. But I think we all know what Zeus does from all the Zodiac days. Linkaribo, Linkaribo died for the sins of Snake Eyes in the TCG. Thankfully, it's still here in Master Duel, and I do like to play Linkaribo in this deck. If it wasn't for this, I'd be playing Relinquished Anima. And then SP Little Knight, there's not much to say. SP Little Knight is just absolutely has to be played in like every deck. It's a staple. Um, so yeah. So at the end of the day, I think this deck is absolutely a. I think this is a sleeper deck for the meta. For the most part, most decks don't have answers, at least in Master Duel specifically, to get around Purrely and whatnot. And I think honestly, in the TCG, Purrely is probably a sleeper deck. I think Purrely could definitely go the mile in the TCG if we had more people who played it. At some points, it is a pretty skill-oriented deck, knowing when to bounce cards, knowing when to interact with your opponent's boards with a Noir, to not absolutely just get blown out, and to know when to use resources and such. It's a little more intensive because the deck has to be obviously the deck will be changed a lot in the TCG because we don't have Max C and such. But at the end of the day, again, I still think it's a sleeper deck in both TCG and Master Duel. And yeah, I definitely want to see more of it. But this is the deck I used to get to Master. I'll be playing this through the Duelist Cup most likely. And yeah, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like what you see here, please feel free to subscribe. I upload 5 duels every single day, so I upload 4 Dueling Book duels every single day to YouTube starting at noon. And I post a single Edison short every day at noon. And if you want like to support me or the channel, you can check out the description below. There should be links to my TCG Player store as well as my referral link to Gemtech. If you use the code TeddyFurry10, it benefits me. It shows Gemtech that you guys like to get to them through my stuff. And if you like premium TCG products and accessories like really nice deck boxes and such, feel free to check them out. Right now, I have a shipment of deck tech of the deck box Lily coming in. I'll be doing a review on that probably next week. So yeah, look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you guys. Peace.